CompUSA was the first and one of the largest computer superstores in the world. They helped create a computing revolution and reap the benefits of a more computer-savvy society. In this episode, you'll learn how CompUSA's management found a way to kill one of the most promising companies of the 20th century. CompUSA is an episode voted for by you. If you'd like to choose the next episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe so polls like these show up in your feed. Without further ado, enjoy the show. CompUSA began as Soft Warehouse, a Dallas-based computer hardware and software distributor, founded in 1984 by Errol Jacobson and Mike Henahovics. They sold products directly to corporate customers, like Texas Instruments. After their customers' employees asked if they could personally shop with them, the two opened up a small warehouse for retail. At that point, computers were still a very niche product. Nearly all these customers were professionals. But in the United States, computer use was growing, and soon more non-professionals began shopping at Soft Warehouse. Errol and Mike saw this as a major opportunity to enter a flourishing retail market. They noticed a need for a wider selection. The two had an idea for a superstore concept, a large retail space selling complete product lines, a computer supermarket. Circuit City, Office Depot, and Toys R Us were all examples of how successful a superstore could be when applied to a niche market. The test was if they could make a computer superstore work. Quickly, the answer was clear. They'd struck gold. Early computer adopters were multiplying, and their store was one of the first to feel the oncoming rush. Soft Warehouse set off the first chain of superstores in the computer industry. They sold hardware, software, peripherals, accessories, and furniture. It was the first time a single store had a complete variety of these products, and it was a candy store for computer nerds. When it came to casual users, avoiding technical jargon was necessary, and many times simplifying things garnered a lot of trust from less tech-savvy customers. Live demonstrations were common as well, and vendors were often in the stores to directly answer customers' questions. A lot of profit still came from wholesale to businesses, allowing big price cuts in their stores. Prices ranged from 30 to 80% below retail level. This all gave Soft Warehouse a massive edge, but to grow majorly, they needed just as impressive a management team. In 1989, they formed a group of seasoned executives that I can only describe as the Dream Team. It all kicked off when private investment firm Dubin Clark acquired Soft Warehouse. They gave needed corporate structure, capital, and financial backing. Chairman Ron Dubin also became chairman of Soft Warehouse. Nathan Morton joined as president and chief operating officer. He had over 20 years of hands-on experience, coming from Home Depot, where he helped the chain grow from 21 to 100 stores. He was also at Target, where he was integral in their West Coast expansion. Dr. Peter Lewin became senior vice president of administration, heading up development and training. With a PhD in economics and experience in academic teaching, he built the backbone of the employee education system with extensive product knowledge, operational, and systems classes. Stan Keith was Chief Financial Officer and Senior VP of Finance. A certified public accountant, he directed financial and treasury functions. Jack Phelps came on as Vice President of Operations, coming from the same position at Eckerd Drugs and Tuesday Morning. David Rosenblatt directed expansion in the Eastern region. He came from Circuit City, where he held the same position. At one point, he orchestrated the openings of 5 stores in a single day. Mike Stevenson headed the Western region, coming from Egghead Software. Sam Crowley, manager of the Central region, was from the Federated Group, an electronics superstore. There, he oversaw 400% company growth in 2 years. Now assembled, the new executive suite worked round the clock to set up Soft Warehouse the right way. When the work began, they were a 3-store chain operating in Dallas, Houston, and Atlanta, with $140 million in sales. They planned to grow at a national rate almost unseen in retail history, and 18 superstores were opened by the end of the decade. In 1990, Soft Warehouse hit $600 million in sales. That year, Apple, Compaq, and Dell joined with them as their retail partner, adding diversity to their inventory. During the 90s, computer literacy was growing majorly. Soft Warehouse reached all levels from major corporations, small businesses, professional offices, government agencies, schools, and individuals. As they hit $2 billion in revenue, the company name was changed to CompUSA. Shortly after, they were listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and they were quickly a popular stock. The problem was their major growth didn't rub off on their profits. They were losing more money than they were pulling in, a theme of the decade. That December, Nathan Morton resigned as president. Chief Operating Officer James Halpin replaced him. Halpin saw expenses as the biggest issue facing the company, and led CompUSA to flatten their corporate structure, cutting several executives. They also redid product lines, giving the boot to things like furniture for more profitable merchandise. This, paired with new, ultra-modern superstores, helped the company get back on track, at least for the time being. In 1996, CompUSA.com was launched, selling products online. During the .com boom, a lot of money was being thrown around. For some, it paid off, but unfortunately, e-commerce wasn't the success story for CompUSA as it was for competition. With over 100 stores, they struggled to drive traffic to the new website. The next year, they partnered again with Apple to develop a store within a store. These were like beta versions of the later Apple stores.
And there's the Apple store within a store in CompUSA. Every single system we make is displayed here. And you can see, as you can see up above, see all these boxes up there, all the Apple boxes, and you can see this wall of software right here.
That year, CompUSA bought out a big competitor, Tandy's Computer City, a 100-store division. This removed one of many worries for them and gave a window for speedy expansion. However, these dreams weren't to be, as the Halpin fever pitch fell flat. Once again, they were eyeing severe financial burdens. As the largest computer retailer, CompUSA had issues with broadening technology. Best Buy and Circuit City had quickly taken the mantle of one-stop shop. Even co-founder Mike Hanahovics, who stayed an avid shopper after his 1994 resignation, eventually stopped going there. He, like the rest of their former customers, could find more on the internet than at CompUSA. They needed another miracle to remain an industry leader. Halpin tried to work his magic again. This time, high-end consumer electronics came in, like cell phones, digital cameras, and even toys. In March 2000, Mexican conglomerate Grupo Sanborns, who had a 15% stake in CompUSA, bought the other 85% of the company, throwing more shade over their future in the new millennium. Their consumer electronics concept was becoming harder to pull off, partly because Walmart began taking would-be customers with their own, more discounted selection. From the outside, Grupo didn't seem to have much of a plan to help with this. When they bought CompUSA, they did away with their integration centers, the lifeblood of their direct-to-business solutions, leaving only the retail side. This caused further rotting of CompUSA's corporate structure. They'd done away with a major part of their business. To cut things short, this was the beginning of the end. The funny thing is, around the time Grupo bought out CompUSA, they were considering an expansion into Mexico, Grupo's home country. After this was made public, Grupo was called into court with claims that they intentionally sabotaged CompUSA to avoid competition. After they paid out a couple million, this was eventually dismissed. We don't know if this was true, but sabotage would certainly have explained their weird changes to the company. In 2003, CompUSA bought the Good Guys chain, closing all of their 46 California stores. This was meant to be another major expansion, but ended up being a huge distraction and waste of money. Their president and CEO, Larry Mondry, left in May 2006, replaced by Tony Weiss, one of the last original CompUSA executives. He resigned after holding the position for just 4 months, which says a lot about how far gone the company was. Things were getting beyond hairy, and it was his replacement's job to fix it. He was Roman Ross, and he saw home entertainment as their key to relevancy. Ross's energy and motivation struck a key in the company and won over fellow employees. Throughout the year, he led the rollout of new HD TVs and home theater equipment. Diversification was the right move, but focusing on mass marketing to homeowners wasn't. Ross made them even bigger enemies with Best Buy, whose prices made competing impossible. This led to further money loss. It seemed like a replay of the mid-90s, but without a Halpin miracle to save the day. That year, the whole company was put up for sale. 2007 was the most carnivorous market ever and resulted in their worst performance thus far. By then, Walmart and Best Buy had seized all mass marketing power. They began a full restructuring, closing and liquidating more than half of their locations. They planned to sell only to small and mid-sized businesses, as well as a narrower demographic of customers. I think this was a good move for them, but it came much too late in the game. In December, they were bought out by a liquidation firm, and these new plans never saw a proper rollout. In 2008, the CompUSA brand, website, and 16 remaining stores were all bought by Systemax. The next year, the same company bought out a struggling Circuit City. By 2012, they dropped both brands, and those final locations were reopened as Tiger Direct. CompUSA had one problem that persisted starting immediately after their success in the early 90s: failure to adapt. Which was ironic, as they helped create a new industry. It started in the mid-90s, with tardiness to incorporate more brands and bigger categories. The same went for the internet. Their brick-and-mortar background executives couldn't get into the online shopping boom, and they failed to make e-commerce a focus for their customers. Then, in the 2000s, consumers wanted fewer pre-built computers and more options for customization. Chains like Fry's and Micro Center offered specialty products for PC building. But so did CompUSA. The problem was their lack of a wide selection and high prices, and they couldn't do anything about it, as they were in no condition to roll out a competent service. When a few hundred employees at CompUSA headquarters came to work for one of the last times, they were met with a sign on the door reading, "We did the best we could," signed Roman Ross. I believe he did try his best. Ross had little over a year from his hiring to make things right, but he'd entered a war-torn CompUSA. Unlike other businesses I've covered, I think bankruptcy might have done them some good. It could have been a needed pit stop in the 90s and would have forced them to do a proper restructuring instead of just winging it and hoping things fixed themselves. When they realized dropping some weight wasn't a substitute for serious internal alterations, they added consumer electronics, increasing the complexity of the business and number of competitors, all while flying blind. Ross's people did this a second time, and that's what finally sealed the company's fate. After the 90s PC boom, CompUSA missed out on every subsequent computing revolution. Quickly, it became a dinosaur in an industry of its own making, and rocketed itself into obscurity.